Hello, welcome to WD18, the Watford fan channel. My name is Jacob, joined by Sam, Ucko, Charlie Zazzera to be talking, briefly, Huddersfield 0, Watford 0, and then we're going to be taking your questions. The lads were both there yesterday at the John Smith Stadium for what can only be described as one of the worst games of football you will ever see. Sam, mate, how are you? Have you recovered from what can be described as I said, just a terrible watch? Terrible.
Awful game of football. I'm trying to think of many worse that I've been to. The only one that sticks out, I said this to you before, Jacob, was we drew 0-0 with QPR at the end of 2013 under Beppe Sannino.
Yes.
That game was a terrible game of football as well. It was Christmas time. It was freezing. And yesterday, I think, was worse, to be honest with you, because if we're comparing two different 0-0s, I look at the Plymouth game at the start of the season where it was 0-0, but you could still say that was a really exciting game. Both teams showed intent to win it. Both teams could have won it. They had a really good chance through Whittaker. I think we had a chance through Bayo. Yesterday, that was just none of it. Huddersfield were happy with a point from the first minute, I think, and Watford failed to really show anything other than they were also happy with a point. I think I don't want to say the negative reaction's been over the top because it's not everyone, it's not good enough yesterday. I do think there were some positives. I thought Wes Hoot and Sierralta continue to show that they're a good back two pairing, I think, and we look much better with those two. But other than those two, I just think we looked really poor all over the place. We looked slow on the ball, slow off the ball, lack of intent, lack of urgency, moved the ball too slowly. So yeah, not good. And even though we're 5 unbeaten, I think you could argue we come out these 5 games with more negatives than positives.
Charlie, anything to add?
No, it was a bad one yesterday. A different kind of perspective might have been, I did think Huddersfield, for their position, the last 2 games, I think they conceded 4 twice. So they knew they had to shut up shop. And I thought defensively, they were pretty sound, to be honest. I thought they had a back 5, which we just couldn't penetrate at all. No space at all between the lines. Their distances were good. But yeah, for us, it wasn't kind of no creativity in the centre, no one taking risks, no one wanting to beat a man. Subs didn't work. There's going to be loads of questions about Val, I'm sure, coming up. But for me, I'm looking at the players and I wanted them to do more. But I just think bad performance, but we didn't lose in the end. So let's just move on.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, the guys were at the stadium yesterday. I watched it from home and I completely agree with what they said. It was a low risk, no reward Watford performance. It felt like we didn't really want to lose the game, and also at times it felt like we didn't want to win it either. Let us know your thoughts on the game in the comment section below, but also getting your questions for the guys. We're going to be firing some over. We got quite a few responses on Twitter at WD18 fans. Make sure you go and check us out over there. Lee does say Huddersfield had 8 first teamers out yesterday. As Charlie mentioned, off the back of the way Huddersfield have been playing, you could tell that they were trying to shut up shop a little bit and protect that back line. And you can understand why Darren Moore wanted to play like that, particularly at home, to get a point on the board. Charlotte says the current style of play reminds me of the last manager with the initials Vladimir Ivic. He didn't last long. That's a very, very interesting comparison. But do you know what? We've touched on the game there. I don't think there's anything else really to add to it, guys. I mean,
no.
Is that not your minutes you're not going to get back, Sam? Is that the way you're looking at it?
One stat that I spotted and that everyone was scared about in the game, we didn't concede 1 corner. And at the end, the last minute, they supposed to have a corner, and the ref, as they're about to take the corner, they didn't let him take it. So from that perspective, we couldn't concede from a corner, which I don't know if that's a positive or not, but we'll take it.
No corners, FC the 2 for me.
Yeah, my big observation was their strikers, one of the biggest strikers I've ever seen in my life, a live football game. Just massive. That's another reason why I think Sierralta and Hoot did well. I know there wasn't too much going forward for Huddersfield yesterday. Sorba Thomas looked a bit dangerous every so often, but I thought they dealt with his physical threat relatively okay, I think.
Yeah, Cole Hudlin up front for Huddersfield, who is 6'7", so a tough ask. And he, fair play to him. He's pressing on his own. Laura makes a great point. Although we didn't concede any corners, shame we can't take them. So look, I think it's important that you get your comments in. We've got a few on Twitter, and then we're going to head over to the live chat. So if you are in the live chat watching this live, make sure you do get involved. And if you're watching this back, let us know in the comment section below what you made of the answers and the questions overall. And obviously leave a like on the video, subscribe to WD18 and follow the guys on social. So let's start with, we've got a few Watford related. We've got a few live questions, but we're going to kick it off with the Watford ones. Make sure we get the important ones out of the way. So The first one came in from Danny L38. Seen a lot of distrust towards Val online, but personally would rather him stay than get caught in a downward spiral of Pozzo sackings. What do you lads think, Sam?
Throwing the hard ones over to me straight away. Wow. I think there's an element of this Watford job that it's a poison chalice, to be honest with you. I think a few people would probably disagree with me, but I think it's going to take a while and quite a lot to turn this ship around with Watford, to turn us from lower half of the Championship to playoff or promotion contenders. I don't think anyone would really come in and shake things up too much at this point. So I'd just be interested to stick with Val at least until the end of the season and hope that, we can have some sort of identity or a bit more positive football and then reassess at the end of the season. If it hasn't worked out, then fair enough. We've stuck with the manager for the whole season, but I just want to see us stay with him until May, unless things get really bad and we end up in a proper relegation scrap.
Charlie, I saw a little bit of chat online yesterday about Val's position. It is 5 unbeaten. We do have to say that. I guess in the context of how we've got those points needs to be addressed as well, and the teams we played. What have you made of the people who are slightly doubting Val at this moment in time?
Yeah, a lot's been said about the style of play and it being possession-based and boring. The one thing that's kind of not that I'm clinging on to, but one thing that I've seen that is positive for me, and we've talked about it, especially more early in the season, is an identity. We did see against QPR, we did see against Plymouth, something new, something we're excited about. I mean, we made a video about it. Go check that out, Valball 2.0 explained. But it's there, and I just think after we lost 3 games, Val's just got a bit more pragmatic to get results, which we've got results which we wanted. So they have got an identity, they have got a style, they have got a plan in terms of fitness, having 2 people for each position. They want to get the subs. There is something there, whether you like that identity or not. But for me, everyone said they're excited and enjoyed what we saw earlier on this season. I just think we're at a stage now where we're trying to slowly get back to that. We spoke about Millwall game, last game, first half, and everyone said we were quite good, and we could see reminiscent of that style coming back. So I think that there is an identity there. We have lost our way a bit with results, and Val has got a bit more pragmatic. Bringing players like Livermore and players like that into the team maybe haven't helped us get back to that. But there is something there, and I'm hoping that that's how Val wants to play. You've heard interviews with Andrew French and stuff like that. That's how he wants to play. That's what they've been building towards. So hopefully we can slowly get back to that.
Yeah, I think there's an element as well that Val can't win, because I think if we play defensively like we are and we get 0-0 results, 1-0 wins, draws and low wins pretty much like we are over the last 5 games, people will say that the style of play isn't good. But then we open up and we see games like Middlesbrough at home where we only lost by 1, we lost 3-2, but the gaps were everywhere. And this team, I don't think, are ready to play the expansive way that we wanted to against QPR on the first season. I think it's become apparent that it was more a case that QPR were poor than we were good. I don't want to put a damper too much on that performance, but I don't think we're ready to play full flow Val ball, and I think that's why he's decided to go more pragmatic.
Interesting. Moving on to the next question from M Evans 87. Matthew Evans, fan of the channel. What a man. Who's the player so far this season that has positively surprised you and who you've been most disappointed with? So someone who's stood out and someone who stood out for the wrong reasons. I think I know who Sam's going to say here.
Well, in terms of disappointment?
Yeah.
Imran loser.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, there's no coincidence that we have gone 5 unbeaten since he's come out of the team. I'm convinced about that. I know that we probably could have done with his creativity, but would he have offered much yesterday? Probably not. I think he would have struggled with the physicality. He surprised me, not surprised me, but because we saw it last season as well. He sometimes doesn't show up. If it was someone who surprised me, who I'd expect more from, probably Ryan Porteous. I think we could have probably expected more. Positively surprised. Ooh, I'm torn between 2. First one's Bayo. I think he could have scored more, but his level of performance has surprised me because I've been impressed a lot. And I quite like Kiembe as well, since he's come back into the team. I think he's done really well as well. A few other notable ones, and Gaki has done all right as well. It's difficult to give a solid answer here. I'm not sure what you think, Charlie.
Disappointment-wise, I think I'm going to go Jamal Lewis, just because I thought he's going to come in with a bit of Premier League pedigree. And especially yesterday, I was just wanted to see more from him. I thought him was the outball all the time. And he put only one decent cross in, which the defender got a good head on against Rajovic. But I just expected a bit more from Lewis, if I'm honest. And in terms of who's impressed me, do you know what? Matthias Martins, I don't think anyone at the start of the season was thinking he's going to be one of our best players. So, yeah, I've been surprised, a bit disappointed to see him only get a couple of minutes yesterday. But I think whenever he's played, he's been one of our biggest threats.
You know what? The two I'm going to go for. I agree with Sam on Loser. I've been disappointed with him. In terms of players that surprised me, I think actually Ishmael Kone, because the games he's played, he's influenced it quite a lot. And I think we look better. Well, we look like a worse team without him in the side. So, and I think that kind of showed yesterday. I felt when he came on, yes, it wasn't a massive improvement, but he gets on the ball. He looks to drive forward. He looks to influence the game. So I'd go Kone for my positive and Loser for my negative. But some interesting mentions from both Sam and Charlie there. Moving on back onto that voucher. Interesting one from Norden Wooter, Chris. That's now 5 unbeaten and people starting to turn on Val. Have we got too used as Watford fans to head coaches being sacked? Sam, I think this is one that you've mentioned before about sort of, because it's the Pozzo DNA to rotate the manager and to change the manager. We almost expect it. I mean, even we've mentioned on this channel before how if we don't get a certain amount of points in these next fixtures or we lose this game, you could see him going. So, yeah, in answer to, I think you're probably the best man to take this one.
Yeah, just quickly before I answer that, corner of my eye, message from Lou here. We put Sema at left back and put Martins back on the left again. I said that to Charlie during the game yesterday. I'd quite like to see that, to be honest with you. I think it would be definitely an upgrade on Lewis and probably Morris as well, to be honest. But answering your question, yeah, I think it's a reflection, to be honest with you, on the culture that's been set up by Gino, and nothing will change until Gino leaves the football club, which is becoming more apparent by the week. We're the only club in English football, genuinely, who could go 5 unbeaten and people are asking for the manager to go. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. People have their own opinion, but it's a consequence ultimately that people will always expect the manager to be sacked even after a positive display. I won't even call it positive, a decent run of results and him signing a new contract a few months ago. So I think it's a reflection of the culture, to be honest.
So, Sam, just to jump in there, if we look at the last 5 games unbeaten, starting away at Cardiff, that myself and Charlie were at, great limbs. 1-1 Cardiff, then we beat Sheffield Wednesday at home, just Swansea away, we beat them with a Ken Sema goal, then 2-2 last week against Millwall, and then Huddersfield away, 0-0. So 3 draws, 2 wins.
Tell you what, I can work out there, Jacob. Sorry to jump in. 90 minutes that we played well in that. The second half against Swansea and the first half against Millwall.
So that's the interesting thing, Charlie, and Sam makes a great point there. The context of those points and those wins, do we have to mention that in terms of that unbeaten run? Because on the surface, if you're a guy who's just come off Mars and you've come to Vicarage Road, you're going 5 unbeaten. Wow, that's pretty good going. But actually, is that telling the whole story?
Yeah, but we could have 3 or 4 points and played really well and lost 4-3.
We've got tough work, Charlie. We got to get these points. We got to get points on the board.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, people are moaning about, like, do you know what I mean? We're talking about what we're not happy with the performances, but we're not happy with the performances because we're so pragmatic and so solid, and it's not exciting to watch. But we're getting points on the board.
We should be winning. Get yesterday's game though. I still think it's 2 points dropped there. I think it's probably 2 points dropped against Millwall as well that we didn't kill off the game. I think those are 4 points. You know, we know how tight the championship is. We had a terrible season last year and we were only 6 points off the playoffs. I don't think we'll get near that this season, but every point is valuable. And I think it's been a waste, to be honest with you, looking back at the end of these 5 games, because we've got such much harder games coming up. We've got Hull, Leicester coming up, and we're not going to win those if we're being realistic. So I think we probably should have looked at 4 wins out of 5 here, and we've only come out with, 2? So I don't think that's good enough.
I guess to support Sam's argument there, Charlie, is the fact that, as you said, you look at the run coming up, we've got to play Leicester away. Okay, Norwich are out of form at the moment, but Hull away, Southampton are picking up form, Ipswich at home. It's a tough run coming up, and you look at those, and yes, of course, we're sort of assuming that we might not do as well in those fixtures, but I guess you look at the last 5 and you look at where those teams are and how they're playing at the moment. Would you have expected us to get more than the 9 points that we've managed to get out the last 5?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Definitely we should have won the Mill. Definitely we should have won yesterday. But if you look at the video we done when we were predicting how many we would get, I think all of us were saying like 9 or 10. So just where we've come from, lads. I totally agree with you. It's just.
I'm playing the middle ground here. I'm not getting involved.
I don't even know what we're arguing about. Really, we should have got more points. Totally agree.
No, so I mean this is an interesting comment. It kind of leads on to Lou Orn's question. So he's made a comment in the chat. Thanks for watching, mate. But the easiest run in the league and we're 16th. It's been such a bad return with the fixtures coming up. So Lou's comments. He replied to us on Twitter saying, we're obviously not building anything and I haven't seen any progress in this team that keeps getting spoken about. 2 fewer points at this stage of the last season. If we're not going to be entertaining for a mid-table team, then what's the point? I'd also argue we've dropped a lot of points because of the manager. That's not me saying I want him sacked, but a good God, give him the players the freedom to attack. I think the last part you can't really argue with, particularly yesterday. It felt like we were quite cautious, wasn't it? I think. What do you think the approach? I think just to answer that, what do we think the approach is from Val now, Sam? Because I described the football yesterday as low risk, no reward. It felt like we weren't really trying to win the game. We weren't really trying to lose it. We were quite content with controlling the ball and letting Huddersfield sit off us. What was your thoughts on Lou's comments there?
Yeah, I think that was an element that we were waiting for Huddersfield to make a mistake rather than backing ourselves and our own creative talents. That's why I don't think we brought on the likes of Martins who can take that risk, or even Kone a bit sooner, or the man I said needs to do better in round loser. But look, I think, like I said before, I think what's happened is we had the first few games of the season where the identity, I think, it wasn't clear, but it was chaos in a way, and that was enjoyable to watch. I think what's happened is post that Middlesbrough game where we lost 3-2 at home and the gaps were opening up everywhere, I think he's turned around and gone, do you know what? We're not going to win any games if we carry on like this. And I think what he's done is, I think he's gone, we're going to steady the ship for a while over these games, and then or over the next few months until January, get us through till January, make sure we're safe in the table, and then he can start experimenting and implementing the philosophy again, and then hoping that we go again next season. That's what I think about, and it's going to be painful, I think, for Watford fans to watch. I just think he doesn't. It's upsetting because I think he's lost belief in his own system a bit, like we said a few weeks ago, and I just wish that Val trusted himself a bit more and went with his own principles, but I think he's thinking we're not going to win games like that.
So a lot of these, we do have to sort of mention that a lot of these questions are about Val and the football we're playing at the moment. So it's kind of the question that you guys have asked. So we're going to answer them as best as possible. So this one from AJ or A Jobbo Watford FC. I hope I got that right, Adam Jobbo on Twitter. I think this is a good one for you, Charlie. Forget the change of manager constantly and forget Pozzo for a minute. Would you boys take Eustace over Val?
In the circumstances that we're in now, no, because I think it would just be tearing up everything going again. I think if we were appointed, or if we're in the summer after, who was our last manager last year? Chris Wilder, and we're looking for a manager, and it was either Val or Eustace, I would obviously go with John Eustace because of that connection with Watford, knowing the club a lot more. But I don't think we should just tear up everything we've done with Val just to go with Eustace personally right now. I could see the argument why people think we did. He did a very good job at Birmingham. But I think Val has done a lot of good stuff in difficult circumstances. And like Sam said, it's just going to be a painful return. But we can't keep sacking managers going again. And if they brought in Eustace, no one's going to say he's guaranteed to last 5 months, 6 months a season, is there? So we've seen it with Rob Edwards. So that's my take. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really good answer. Do you know what we're gonna? Okay, this is and we're gonna mix up with some light-hearted ones as well. So Yellow Zach on Twitter on that manager theme. Sam, if you had to bring one manager back to Watford, who would you bring in Watford history?
Watford history. I mean, I'd obviously say Graham Taylor. Should we say the Pozzo years? I think would probably.
Should we say since you've been watching?
Yeah, since I've been watching. Might be controversial because of the way he left, but I'd probably say Marco Silva.
I thought you were going to say Beppe Sonino.
I love that. If you haven't seen the Sean Murray video yet, some great stories in there about Sonino as well. So make sure to check that out. But I'd probably say Silva, to be honest with you. If we could turn back time and he never left the way he did, and we could bring him back, I probably would, to be honest with you. Javi, I'm not sure, because I think I don't know, the lead situation didn't sit too well with me, the way he set him up. But I'd probably go Silva or Gianfranco, to be honest. Maybe.
Yeah, love that. Love that. I'd probably. I think that Zola year was just. I think because there was no expectation, the football we were playing was just so good, so good. Okay, moving on to the next one. This was a good one for Charlie, actually. Someone who's talked about this man a lot. Up the on 17, Jake Thompson said, "Do you think Milita Rajovic is good enough?"
My answer is I don't know. So I'm getting attacked by a dog here. Let me get that.
That's the first for WDA team.
Amazing.
My answer to Rajovic is: do I think he's good enough? I don't know. I don't think he's had. I haven't seen enough of him. I don't think we play to his strengths. The minimal time we have seen him on the ball and stuff, you'd suggest it's not great, but I still see him making some decent runs, which we just don't want to. I just want to see us play like a percentage ball sometimes, round the corner, turn a defence, get people running. We've got pace. We put one cross in for him yesterday, which their defender did well against. We saw what happened. We've seen what happened. Birmingham, great header. Millwall, good header. So I don't know if he's good enough yet. Like I can't see us playing him for 5-6 consecutive games unless Bio gets injured. So it's hard to tell. I know we probably should talk about Healy in some point, but that is my answer. I just don't know if Rajovic is good enough yet. I think he's a good squad option. I think he's a good player to have to bring on.
Really good. I mean, that was just like the perfect segue to Will's question. W Hunt 28 on Twitter. Will Hunt. This one's for both of you guys. So do you think there's a system that would allow Val to budge on Healy, as it's clear he's not the build of striker he wants, despite having the most prolific goal-scoring record out of the strikers we have? Sam?
I think Healy was probably a pre-Val purely Pozzo signing. And Val's walked in, they've said, all right, here you go. And he's gone, well, I don't want it. I do feel sorry for Healy in a bit. And if I'm being honest, he'll probably leave in January. I mean, why would he stick around? He's not getting minutes. But it's really frustrating. I think maybe a 2 up front. I can't really see him playing up front by himself, to be honest with you. I think he'd probably be a bit isolated up there by himself. A front 2 of Rajovic and Healy might be nice to experiment with. But I just wonder when we'll see that now. Because I think he's quite set on Bio, at least until January, and bringing Rajovic off the bench. Healy, all right, maybe if we're desperate for a result. I suppose I just don't really see where Healy fits in now.
Tell you what, there's this bloke in the live chat, Charlie Zazzera, with a great shout. So Mateus Martins is a false 9.
Interesting.
Do you know what?
Good looking fella, that geezer. Yeah, no, I was just thinking about.
Profile picture.
Jacob, over to you on that one.
Or Mateus. I quite like the idea of it. I don't think it's Val's cup of tea. I'd actually quite like to see us experiment. I don't think he probably fits the way Val wants to play. I actually think, going back onto the Healy argument, you've basically got to play a 3-5-2 if you want to fit him into the team, to play 2 strikers, and it probably would be him and Rajovic, I think, together. I think, as you saw last week at Millwall, the movement that Healy made for the goal allowed Rajovic to get the space to actually put that header away. And even at the other end of the pitch, I know it's not what he's there to do, but he made a really big contribution, knocking it off the line. And I just really hope we don't get into the situation with Healy where it's like a Passetto 2.0, where he made like one notable action and we never see him ever again. So in answer to your question, Charlie, I like the thought of it. I like the idea of it. I would like to give it a go, but I don't think we will under Val. Is probably my answer.
For me, Reece Healy's got to get some minutes. Like, he's got to get an opportunity. He hasn't had a sniff at all. I don't think he started anything. We don't know what's happening in training. We don't know what context. We don't know about the knee injury. But he was on the bench again yesterday. I don't think he got in. But he's a striker who scores goals, and we're struggling to score goals. So I can't see why we can't give him an opportunity, because Bayo and Rayo, as I like to call them, aren't exactly keeping the shirt and setting the world alive. He deserves a chance at least.
No, I completely agree. I think, just to add to that as well, with a guy, if we just go through his record quickly, particularly over the last couple of seasons when he was playing in Ligue 2 for Toulouse, in 2021, he scored 14 goals in 32 games. And then in 21-22, he played 32 games and scored 20. And I have to say, some would argue, is that the level of the league the same as the Championship? But it's not that dissimilar, in my opinion, from what I've seen. So I think out of all the strikers we have, his movement probably looks the best. It's only brief from what I've seen so far, but you can tell he knows what positions he needs to be in. A couple of comments. There was one, HJ kind of echoes what I says. Can only see 3-5-2 with Healy playing. Needs to be 2 up front for Healy to play. I think you're probably right, particularly under Val as well.
I'm just scared of playing 3 at the back after that Middlesbrough game.
What would be the back 3 if you were going to go for it?
It'd be Porto, Hu, and Sierralta, wouldn't it? But I can't remember even until like Zola years where us playing a back 3 was effective. I've got some bad memories of us with a 3.
Yeah.
Matthew Briggs sticks out in the memory.
Just going back to the striker talk, though, did Tom Ince ever play down the middle at Reading?
Ooh, I think he might have played in the 10.
More midfield.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I was going to say Tom Ince in the false 9 is probably more likely than Martins, I would argue. If he ever did try that.
Rio in the comment section, good to see you, mate. Rajovic isn't good enough, but we're not putting balls in the box, and he scored from 3 to 4 goals from crosses. The stats don't lie. Right, back onto the questions. Okay, moving on. So there was a really interesting question from Paul Fianda Turner. Thank you very much for the question, mate, on Twitter. More off the pitch stuff. So many fans renewed at the start of the season, yet attendances are plummeting at Vicarage Road. I wonder what the club will do to connect to these fans. What do you think they should do, Sam?
I think that's
a multi-layered question, this one. But
I think there's a lot. I think, first of all, I can't really talk for Watford here, but right through the 92, with teams outside the top 6, there's problems of top 6 fans buying season tickets and not turning up, which no doubt is a problem at Watford. We see these fans turn up when we are in the Premier League and then never see them again. So I wonder if that's an element of it. But in terms of reconnecting the club with the fans, it's something that needs to be addressed desperately. The most basic way of doing it is winning games, because ultimately when you're winning games, no one's looking what's happening. Well, that's not true, but there's less scrutiny on what's going on off the pitch and everyone's loving the team. But at the same time, the best ways, I think having Luther back in there involved, I think should hopefully help things. It's a difficult one because supporting Watford, and it's something that our friends from the Rookery End always speak about a lot, is supporting Watford looks different for everyone. I heard a story a few weeks ago on their podcast about a fan who took their son to their first game against Middlesbrough, I think it was, and they were delighted that they just got to see Watford score 2. And their son was just delighted and absolutely fell in love. Whereas some fans, obviously, I wasn't happy that we won the game, but supporting Watford looks different for everyone. So I just think it's difficult to really put my finger on what can reconnect the club with fans, because I think at the end of the day, it's just about winning games. Everyone's happy with that.
Good answer. Just, do you know what? It segues on to Gary's question on Twitter as well, Charlie. What needs to happen for the relationships between fans and club to improve? He says it still feels very divisive, in my opinion. I think what we do have to add to that, and Sam tweeted it out yesterday, there were a few chants from a minority of Potso out. Sam, just add what other chants were they? There was a bit of booing at full time, wasn't there? And
I mean, I think it sums up the divisive nature of it. Charlie, I don't know if you picked up on it, but there were chants of Gino Pozzo get out of our club, Pozzo out. A couple of people turned around, shouted, "Shut up!" and there were claps from some people further down the front. So I think that shows where the divisive element is. We just need to be united as Watford fans, to be honest. But yeah, Charlie, how would you answer that question?
Yeah, I thought your first answer was right. I think ultimately the only way is winning games and results. It's such an important thing in football. Fans are very fickle. Everyone's entitled to have their opinion about the club and how it has. Look, we've come from being in the Premier League for 5 years, knocking on the door from Europe, FA Cup final. So to have the fall that we have done and the way we've done it with the sacking of managers is hard to take. And I think we're all a bit scarred as fans. I think there was quite a good comment there from that Tommy Weedon, but little things like saying, like, for the fans who went to Sunderland away, for example, when the performance was awful, could they not just allow a bit of budget for like a free pint or something little like that? But we do great stuff in the community still all the time. You saw this week, Ken Semmers now an ambassador for WOW. So I think off the pitch, the club do it. And I just think ultimately, until we've got a team that's winning consistently, there's always going to be that kind of animosity and disconnect.
Yeah, great comment from Alistair saying match day experience on game day is key. Even if your team is rubbish and the ground experience is fun, then you get around it. I think that's a very, very good point. Okay, moving on to the next question. Hope that answers your questions, Gary. A couple of light-hearted ones. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no, from Steve Morris? Absolutely not.
No chance.
That's criminal behaviour. There was another one from Shano. Hope you're doing well, mate. What's your favourite crisp flavour? I'm going to chuck it in there. For me, I like to think I'm quite a cultured man. I'm going to go with sweet chili sensations.
That's fancy.
And part of the meal deal if you want to get down to your local Costco.
I'm going to get slated for this. Oh, God, I love the ready salted baked ones. Walkers.
Don't tell me you get a ham sandwich and a bottle of water as well.
Plain cheese sandwich. That's the
I don't want to sound too proper football man or Brexit, but I like a salt and malt McCoy's.
Do you know what? The only thing with those, you find like you're downing your drink quite quickly because they're so salty. Do you know what I mean? They are quite salty.
I'm a salty man, Jacob. You should know that by now.
I was a curry after Charlie yesterday, by the way.
Curry afterwards, yeah, it was good. I just had a safe lambuna, but a couple of kingfishers, poppadoms, garlic naan. It was good.
Do you know what? Hold the line, please. We actually might have the curry on show. This is a spread post Huddersfield. This is not sponsored, but do you want to shout out the place, Charlie?
Nawab, I think it was called in Huddersfield. It was pissing down with rain, but we needed to get a curry, and we hadn't done it in a while. For in the Northwest Hornet, whoever wins in our league, fantasy league, gets their curry paid for. So that's been due. But yeah, like Alistair said, like yesterday, I just had it like it's such a good away day for if you're living in the Northwest. Good beers before, met up with Sam before, and in the Sportsman, a good pub. Obviously, the game was terrible, but we had the curry, so like, I had a great day.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. Next question. Okay, Freya Quinton on Twitter. Hope you're well. Curious to know which players you think will be with us next season. Now, that could be quite a long list, and we probably will do a keep, sell, or loan at the end of the season in approximately 6-7 months. But what might be a better way of saying it is one player you think will stay that people don't think will stay, if that makes sense. So one player we think might leave, but actually they'll stay come the start of next season. So mine would be someone like Kone. I think Kone will be here.
I'd like to see Kone stay.
Yeah, Kone.
Yasser Asprilla?
Asprilla, yes. I think Asprilla will go, to be honest. I think the
do you think he's going to do enough to get a move?
He's in demand. And you look at certain certain players, you can see they're just going to grow when they leave Watford because we're not the best place at the moment to develop players. So I think he'll be looking to leave. Lose will probably go as well. It's difficult to say players we think will leave. I hope the big one for me, I just hope we get Ryan Andrews down to a new contract. That's huge. I think that should be the priority at the moment before the January transfer window because come the summer, he's going to have a year left, isn't he?
Yeah, let me just double check that. But from what I've read...
Now he's in the England setup, there is going to be clubs sniffing around him, without doubt.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. On Transfermarkt, his value now is at $500,000 on transfer. I know that's not the accurate representation, but that's only going to go up now because of the amount of appearances he's made for the club. So apparently, according to Transfermarkt, so don't quote me on this, it expires this year, but there is an option for a further year. So it's whether he wants to accept it and stay at the club. Luan says he wouldn't be shocked if Loser goes to Udinese in January. Could see that. Yeah, I think that hopefully that answers your question, Freya. We will do a more in-depth sort of video towards the start of next season, but we've got a little bit of a while and plenty of videos to get through before then. This is a good one. Matthew67_Ben. Hand on heart, do you honestly believe Valérien Ismaël is the man to take this team forward? I followed Watford for 46 years. The style of play I've seen recently is hitting new lows for me. Yes, I want some sort of stability, but I can't take much more of Val's ball. Not ball.
That's such a difficult question because I think context is key with the whole situation with the sacking managers. So I think he's the man to take us forward. Like, it's not what I want to see in a Watford team, if I'm being completely honest. I really miss sort of Zola ball in a way, or the football we saw in the first few games of the season. That doesn't mean I think he'll see out the season, to be honest with you, which will be an achievement in a way for us. Is he someone I'd want to see in the long term? If I'm being honest, probably not. But that's not to say I want him gone at all.
Charlie?
If we can get back to the football that we tried to play, and for me, I think especially, I know Kone got dropped again, but I think everything that he's doing, like you said, is big picture. If we can get back to the football we were playing at the beginning of the year, go again in January, try and improve the squad, and just keep seeing improvement. I like Val. I think everything that he says is good. I think he's been consistent. I think he's been realistic. I think he's tried to implement a style of play. So if we can keep improving and keep seeing those steps, I don't see why not.
Yeah, so my take on this is an interesting one in the sense that I don't think he probably matches the philosophy and the Watford DNA in terms of the most successful teams at Watford and the way they played. They didn't play like this. Having said that, if I look at sort of the man I wanted to see clear out, oversee the clear out we saw this summer, I think the way he's navigated that has been pretty good. And I like to think that the squad will improve over the next 3 or so transfer windows. And we do have to remember that he's only had one transfer window. For me, as long as we're stable this season and we finish around I think I predicted 14th in the ends. Like, as long as I think we have to be honest, as long as we're in and around that bracket and we're not going to be going down, I don't think we'll go up. I don't think we'll get playoffs. And then we reassess this time next year and say, if we're not progressing, then we move him on. But in terms of sort of steadying the ship at this point, I don't think there's many managers. We needed, I think Chris Wilder hit the nail on the head. We needed a disciplinarian manager to come in and clear out the squad. And there's been a lot of players that have moved on. And I'm just hoping that we can maybe give him the tools he needs in the next couple of windows to hopefully improve. Because I think there is the argument Val will always have is there is only so much he can do with the players he has. You know, I think we can all accept that the players we have, it's not a great Watford squad. I could accept that he has to be a bit more pragmatic with it, but it would be nice to see a better style of football than the football we saw yesterday. I think that's probably a fair.
Just one last bit on that. I do think the culture that he's installed, I think he has brought real togetherness. You've seen some scenes after the game, especially Swansea, the players celebrating kind of when Ken Sema scored. I think he's done a really good job in that. So I'm hoping that'll bear fruits down the line. I think he's made us a lot fitter team as well.
Tommy Weed in the comment section, thank you for the question, mate. Why did they choose Val to be loyal to and give a new contract, yet let, in my opinion, some good coaches go early? Do you think that was the pressure of getting back to the Premier League that they panicked? And now they've just accepted that they can't do that anymore?
Yeah, so it's a realistic, them turning realistic pretty much in terms of a longer vision. It could be them attempting to change as well. Time will tell if they do stick with him. I think that's probably why they've changed now.
Matthew says he clearly got spooked after the Leeds performance and the style has changed since. We needed points after a bad run, which we got, but there's no doubt we need to take more risk on the ball. I think that's a very, very fair assessment on where Watford are at the moment. Okay, moving on to the next question. To be fair, this isn't a question from Ben Slater, but he just found it funny yesterday that the game was so boring that the fans in the away end started singing about the Etienne Capoue. Can we get a confirmation on that? Did you join in?
And Adeline and Decore song as well.
I heard the Abbey chant as well, I think, going around at one point. I personally didn't join in. It's each to their own, but I'd rather support the players who are on the pitch at that moment. Each to their own, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, one for you, Charlie. Andrew Mitchell on Twitter. What's happened to Martins? He was our most creative and threatening player. Now he gets 4 minutes off the bench. That was bizarre yesterday, waiting to 86 minutes to bring Martins on. I know we're obviously managing him a little bit, but surely he's got to be brought on earlier. He's probably one of our only match winners in the team.
Yeah, I think Ken Sema's a bit of a problem for Martin because when he's come in and how good he can be, how reliable he is. And he has had a couple of halves, Martin, where he has been ineffective. I think Luke's shout about getting Ken back at left back could be a good solution, but I think Martin's is one of the most threatening players, so I'd like to see him in that team somehow. It's a tough. I think we've got loads of left-footed players, so it's a really tough situation because I think Sema and Martins have both got to play. So that's for Val to work out.
Sam?
Sorry, on mute there. I said the fireworks going off at the moment, so keeping myself on mute when I'm not talking. Yeah, I agree with Charlie. I think Ken Sema is really causing a problem for Martins. But yeah, as Lou said earlier, I'd be interested to stick Sammer back at left back. He might not be the best defensively, but he could offer us something as well going forward, both of them together. And that could perhaps signify Val taking a bit more of a risk. Just like Charlie said earlier, Lewis hasn't shown me anything, to be honest with you, to convince me that he is that good. People said that he'd come in and upgrade on James Morris. I don't really see what Lewis has done that James Morris didn't do better, to be honest.
Fair show. Okay, moving on. Great one from Charlotte, actually. I mean, I say actually, Charlotte's always on every single stream, giving some great comments. But one I hadn't thought of, and it's a really good question. What can be done to make this Watford side entertaining again? If Pozzo is no longer prepared to invest in real talent, you look at your Capu, Delafeu's, Pereira's, etc. anymore, are we a side in permanent decline?
It's a big question, this, isn't it?
I think it's an interesting point in terms of the recruitment strategy. I'm not actually too sure what it is now, to be completely honest. You kind of do a bit of reading and you find out, obviously, with Manga leaving, etc. I don't really know. I think is Val in charge of it now? Honestly, I couldn't tell you.
Do you know one area that I think to improve this side? And I know Jeremy Ngaki has been pretty good recently, but get Ryan Andrews in the side, get him bombing on as an attacking threat, especially with a spree on that side, cutting in. And Ryan Andrews overlapping, underlapping. He's got an infinity already with the fans because he's one of our own. So if we can enable him to kind of hit the heights we think that he could hit, I think that would be a really good way to, one, build that connection with the fans, and two, make us more exciting to watch. Because going forward, I think we can see kind of green shoots that he could be a really, really exciting fullback for us.
Sam, anything to add there?
Yeah, definitely. I thought he looked great as well when he came on yesterday. I did watch back the short highlights, didn't bother with the extended ones, but there was a really good cross that he put in that Rajovic nearly got his head onto, where he sort of turned the full back inside out and managed to get the cross in. So I have been really impressed with Ngakia. I just put that on record as well. But I think Andrews, again, like I said, moving Semmer over to left back, I think moving Andrews over to right back would see us probably take a few more risks on the ball and be a bit more attacking going forward.
Sweet. Okay, we've got through the Twitter questions, so we're just going to run through the live chat before we wrap up today. Charlotte, thanks so much again. Thank you for the question. After the last few tumultuous years, it's a mouthful, Val does at least seem to have brought some discipline to the club. I think that's very fair. Ian says, do you think players would want to come here and play for Val? Probably tough to ask at the moment. But Sam, I think on the whole, look, no one's going to come out on club media and start slagging off the manager, but on the whole, the feeling is quite positive, I'd say, towards Val and the players. Would you say, unless you're not getting game time? Is that fair?
Yeah, I'd say so. From what we're hearing, it does seem relatively positive towards Val. Jay Livermore wanted to come to play under Val, having worked under him at West Brom, if that's an example. But this is a new sort of version of Valérien Ismaël, so it'll be interesting to see. But I think the opportunity to come to the Championship will obviously no doubt see Mogi Bayat clients come in as well. So whether it's a case of coming to play here for Val will be interesting. But I just hope that if he is in charge of recruitment, he does get a say in who we bring in.
Great question from Josh. Would you rather Val switches to more of a long ball direct style of football, as he showed at Barnsley and I guess West Brom, opposed to this possession football, Charlie? Because I remember when we spoke to the guys at the previous clubs, I think it's now starting to go towards maybe what I expected when he came in.
I disagree. I think it's totally different. He used to play with three big, tall strikers, and he used to be long, direct, get knocks down and go from there, shots outside. I don't think we've got the players at all to play how we want. Who would we have? Rajovic, Bayo, and Ken Semmer up front and going direct. No, I've been encouraged. I think the way we've tried to play earlier on in the season, and I think we've worked so hard to get to this point, I think we just need to continue, and hopefully all those hours on the training pitch, all that repetition, players get more familiar with each other. Hopefully we're going to see the results come.
Wicked. Okay. I think that's where we're probably going to wrap it up. I think
there's just one question that I really want to ask.
Yeah, let's finish off with that one.
If you could have any person, dead or alive, as the fourth member of WD18, who would you have? Jacob.
Wow. It's got to be Elton, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be
That
Elton.
would be box office. The only other one that came to my mind was actually no. I think Elton was the first one. Oh, obviously GT, but Elton. I think if you had Elton on every week, and as a fan as well, and probably the most high-profile Watford fan on the channel every week. I think that's one thing I've always said when we started the channel. If one day we can get Elton on, not on a stream, but just a video or like a minute chat with him, that I would have completed Watford.
I think Alfie's got a good chat with Deeney. I think the amount of years that Deeney's been with us, we know he's not shy to comment and say how he really feels. Some of the stories he'd be able to say with the different coaches and players, and I'm sure he would be pretty honest about how he feels about the current players. So I think Deeney.
What about Vinnie Jones?
Get Gazza on.
Sam, who was the first name that came to your head? We've had GT, Elton, Deeney, Vinnie Jones. I've gone Elton, Sam, Ollie.
Different vein. Sean Walker. I'll go with.
What about Ben Foster, just for the views?
Yeah, that would be great. Alex King, if you're around, please. This is a public service announcement. Come on the channel. We really need you on here. Okay, Laura says Elton chat. We all need goals. Go get him. Oh, that'd be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Do you know what? Just to wrap up, Sam, prediction league.
Yes.
Not a great week for me and Charlie. Sam, what did you go for?
Not great for anyone. I went 2-1 Watford.
Okay.
I'll just share my screen with you now if it lets me. I don't think it's going to load, unfortunately, today. But basically, yeah, none of us managed to get the perfect score yesterday. So the current league table, after Charlie's little comeback at the moment, me and Jacob are both joint top with 11 points, and Charlie has 10 points. So it's getting close now. Next game, Rotherham at home at Vic. I've gone with a 2-0 to Watford.
I'm going to stick with what I said against Huddersfield. I'm going to go 3-1 Watford.
I think we'll lose 1-0.
Got to go big here. Fair enough.
Oh, I just think it's coming.
Lose 1-0 and then going into the November international break.
Do you know what? I think it's almost. I actually prefer. Like my predictions are so terrible, and more often than not, the opposite happens. So I think we'll probably win. But yeah, I've just got a bit of a bad feeling. I don't know what it is. I think Rotherham being quite a poor team at home, it's going to be a horrible game, similar to Huddersfield. Just like a set piece or something. I've had nightmares already. We've had a few predictions. We had 0-0. 3-0. Fabian says we can't concede to them, so my prediction would be redundant. Charlotte, round of golf with Ben Foster, anyone? Potentially. One day. Alistair, thank you very much. And thank you to all of you who got involved. Amazing questions. And I think we've kind of said off camera that we'd like to do this every couple of weeks. Maybe not every single week because we probably have the same questions. But I think every couple of weeks, if you'd like to do this in midweek or as a dedicated show on the weekend, then let us know whenever's best for you guys. And we'll make it happen. Sam, Charlie, what a pleasure.
Post-match pint against Rotherham. So if anyone's down, come to the Mad Squirrel. We'll be there, have a chat afterwards, have a drink, hopefully be celebrating a win and not Jacob's 1-0 defeat, drowning our sorrows. So anyone about, fancy a drink and a chat, we'll see you in Mad Squirrel on Saturday.
Absolutely. And obviously, this video is brought to you by the Mad Squirrel for the best beer in Watford, 7 minutes away from Vicarage Road. Make sure to check them out. Okay, on the way out, if you could leave a like, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe to WD18. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and we will see you next time. Take care and up.